So we're live. Okay, but we need to give people a minute, right? So welcome to Wake Up American Ministries. We were a little bit later today and doing our weekly video posts, and reason being we're just trying something different at a different time and just seeing who we can reach. And so we're in a different location. We are at our outdoor waterfront studio. Hence, we are down at the pond. So not sure how much signal we have or how good it's going to be, but if it's breaking up or the quality or whatever is not real good, because sometimes the service down here is kind of iffy. Just send Julie a comment or comment on there or whatever, and then if we need to, we'll pause it and we will move up the hill a little bit where our signal's a little better. But we're going to give this just another minute before we get into our message today, and give people an opportunity to get clicked on. So be patient with us here for about a minute or so, and then we'll get going. I don't know if it's been a minute or not. Probably not quite a minute. But anyhow, we're going to go ahead and get going, and then people can go back and watch it, or they can catch up or whatever. But anyway, the title, I'm going to give you the title today because it's about missions, a reason to give. And we're going to be starting in Acts chapter 11 and verse 25 and 26. Well, actually 25 through 30 is where we're going to be at to start with, and we're going to move quickly. We're not just going to stay right here in this one place. And let me put these glasses on real quick so I can see a little better. And anyway, we're going to talk about some things today and then relate it to a real world situation. All right, so Acts chapter 11, and it says, "Then departed Barnabas to Tarsus for to seek Saul." Now you remember Saul was later renamed Paul, right? All right, and it says, "And when he had found him, he brought him unto Antioch. And it came to pass that a whole year they assembled themselves with the church and taught much people. And the disciples were called Christians first in Antioch. And in these days came prophets from Jerusalem unto Antioch. And there stood up one of them named Agabus, and signified by the Spirit that there should be great dearth throughout all the world, which came to pass in the days of Claudius Caesar." And if you go and you research that, you can verify that with a Google search, that there was a great drought and famine during his reign. Anyway, so then the disciples, every man according to his ability, determined to send relief unto the brethren which dwelled in Judea, which is where Jerusalem is located, which also they did, and sent it to the elders by the hands of Barnabas and Saul. So this is a ministry opportunity that a need was presented to to the church in Antioch where Barnabas and Saul were ministering, and they began to take up a collection. So, first of all, let me point out this. A tithe is not an offering. A tithe, if you look up and do the study, a tithe relates to the 10% that most Christians at least agree with and believe that every believer is obligated to give to the Lord. That's the tithe, 1/10. And so, anyway, but an offering is above that tenth. So it's anything over a tenth is an offering. So anyway, there's some key words here. A great dearth, and we've already hinted on that. And it said that verse 29 says, basically every man according to his ability to give to send relief. Now, a lot of people take this and they twist this and say that in the New Testament doesn't say anything about tithing. But this context here that we're talking about is not about tithing. It's about giving to the needs of others that are outside your immediate church. The tithe is designed or given to support the local ministry, the church. Like, for instance, the tithe pays the pastor's salary. It keeps the lights on. It keeps the air conditioner on. It pays for the trash collection fee and all of those things, expenses that are, month-to-month expenses that keep the church open and keep it functioning. And then the offering, is used for hopefully ministries outside the church. So we strongly believe and encourage in missions. At the Rock Worship Center, we give a monthly gift to missions, and we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a few moments. But anyway, this is what this is about. Then if you go on, and we're going to keep moving on quickly because I want to show you that this was not the first and only time that this happened in the Bible. And it says here in Acts 12 and 25, and it says, because remember we just read that Barnabas and Saul were going to take this to Jerusalem, right? Well, they did. Verse 25 of chapter 12 says, and Barnabas and Saul returned from Jerusalem when they had finished their ministry, and took with them John, whose surname was Mark. All right, now flip over to 1 Corinthians chapter 16, 1 through 3, because all of this ties together. Because remember, Paul wrote two letters to the Corinthian church, the 1 Corinthians and then 2 Corinthians, but we're still here. And this is what it says, chapter 16. Now concerning the collection for the saints, as I have given order to the churches of Galatia, even so do ye. Upon the first day of the week, let every one of you lay by him in store, as God hath prospered him, that there be no gatherings when I come. And when I come, whomsoever you shall approve by your letters, them will I send to bring your liberality, however you say it, unto Jerusalem. I say that fast 3 times, okay? But anyway, so what is this saying? This is talking about an offering that is taken up to do what? Okay, now remember they started off where? In Antioch, which was in Syria. Now they're in the region called Galatia. They're in a different place. Now they're still again, because this famine, this dearth, it went on for a period of years. And so the need was not just a one-time need, it was a continuous need here for a little while. And again, they're taking up another offering to send relief to Jerusalem. And then it says, will I send to bring your liberality unto Jerusalem. In other words, this is your best gift, okay? This is your generosity being displayed, because these people in Galatia had compassion on those that were in great need, and they gave freely and willfully to the Lord. All right, now moving on. 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 1. All right, because this is his second letter, and it says, for as touching the ministering to the saints, it is superfluous for me to write to you. All right, so, well, let me read verse 2. It says, for I know the forwardness of your mind, for which I boast of you to them of Macedonia, that Achaia was ready a year ago, and your zeal hath provoked very many. So what he's talking about, their eagerness to give. All right? They were more than happy to give of what they had so that they could help meet the needs of others. And if you go on and you read all through this, you will see how they're giving and how Paul praised them for the giving, how important it is. All right, now, I want to just point out something here. Right now, we have a world crisis taking place not only in Ukraine, but also right there in Western Russia, Southwestern Russia, whatever. You have Poland and Hungary and Slovakia and Latvia and Moldova and Romania. You have all of these countries right now that are just west and maybe a little bit northwest of Ukraine. And the last number that I heard, it was now over 2 million refugees that have fled this war in Ukraine, and these people are in great need. I mean, if you've seen the pictures, if you've been following this story, you can see just unbelievable destruction that has taken place. They've been showing pictures from Mariupol, and I mean, the city it don't exist much anymore. And this is happening in Kharkiv, and Kiev is being surrounded even as we speak. I mean, these battles are just going on, and there's other cities that are just being pummeled and leveled and destroyed, apartment buildings, people's houses. I mean, the pictures are horrible, and these people are fleeing and doing their best to get out of harm's way. Some couldn't afford to get out of harm's way, and they're trapped. And this is an unbelievable, probably the biggest humanitarian crisis that maybe we've seen in our lifetime, and it's going to continue to grow as long as this fighting goes on. And, you know, if by some, I don't know, by some weird set of events, if this war spreads to other countries, I mean, there's no telling how big this crisis can get. So there's immediate needs here, and you see that the president of Ukraine, he came out even, about a week and a half or almost 2 now, I guess ago, or maybe a little longer, and he said that all men ages 18 to 60 had to stay in the country to do what? To fight. So you got mothers with their small children, some teenage children, you got elderly people. I mean, we've been seeing pictures on some of the news things where people in wheelchairs, people are having to be carried, the elderly, people with walkers and canes that are trying to get to some place in safety. But not only are these people, I mean, many of these, some of them have no bags, some of them only have the clothes on their back, some of them only have one bag. You got mothers that are carrying their small children. They don't even have strollers or anything to push them in. I mean, it's just a terrible, terrible thing that's taking place. They're homeless. I mean, many of these people are going to have nothing to go back to. They have no hope whatsoever for really to even exist. But hey, if we got Jesus, we got hope, right? And so that's what we need to be focused on, because we as the church, we as believers, we as Christians, and I'm going to appeal even today to unbelievers and maybe non-Christians, that we have a responsibility as human beings to reach out to these people and try to help them, at least in a small way, because we're not the only country. We're not going to be the only community doing it. There are going to be people all around the world, and they are, even as we speak, that are going to be sending water and diapers and food items and just all sorts of blankets and whatever they need, trying to help these folks out, and we should be. We have a responsibility. Let's look at 2 Corinthians chapter 9 and verse 6 through 9. Basically, this is the law of sowing and reaping. You're very familiar with it. He said, "But this I say, he which soweth sparingly shall reap also sparingly, and he which soweth bountifully shall reap also bountifully. Every man, according as he purposeth in his heart, so let him give, not grudgingly or of necessity, for God loveth a cheerful giver." All right, now, what are we talking about? We're not talking about the tithe, okay? Because go back to verse 1. "For as touching the ministering to the saints, Now we know that there was a large Christian population in Ukraine. Many of these are now fleeing. There was a very large Jewish population in Ukraine. All right, we have a responsibility to do what? To help God's chosen people, the Jews. Well, in this mix, there's going to be Muslims and Buddhists and whoever else. But guess what? They're still human beings. These people still have souls, and they still need, regardless of what faith they claim, they still need help. And we can help them today. And there's many ways to do that, and we're going to get into that here in just a little bit, or near the end. And anyway, then you'll have a choice to make. But I want to just read this to you. It's James 1:27. It says this: pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this, to visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction, and to keep himself unspotted from the world. Now, in their affliction. Now, I don't think anybody would disagree here. These people are being strongly afflicted. You know, I mean, just think if we were in their place, where we had to leave our homes and we had to get to safety, and all you had time to get was a handful of clothes or nothing, just to escape being bombed or shelled or shot at by snipers or whatever's taking place over there. You say, well, I just don't have it to give. Well, you remember there was a story, and I hate to use that word. Really, it's an account. It's a true account in Mark chapter 12, verses 41 through 44. And Jesus was sitting, I don't know if he was actually in the temple, but wherever it is that they accepted the collections, he was there and he was watching, he was observing. And there was an elderly woman who came, and it said that she had 2 mites, and she gave the 2 mites. And I want to read that real quickly. I think I've got it marked, but I just want to read it. We're going to talk about that for just a second. But this is what it says. It says, and Jesus sat over against the treasury and beheld how the people cast money into the treasury. And many that were rich cast in much. And there came a certain poor widow, and she threw in 2 mites, which make a farthing. And he called unto him his disciples, and saith unto them, verily I say unto you, that this poor widow hath cast more in than all they which have cast into the treasury. For all they did cast in of their abundance, but she of her want, in other words, her lack here, but she of her lack did cast in all that she had, even all her living. Now, I read some things in commentaries that basically said that these 2 mites that she gave, which was essentially less than a penny, even in the Roman, because this was the lowest valued coin that they had during this time, which basically it amounted to nothing that she could actually go and purchase anything with. So in her desperation, or maybe even in her faithfulness to the Lord, I guess however you want to look at it, but however it came about, she said, you know what, this is of no value to me, so I'm going to give it to the Lord, because when I put it in his hands, it now becomes of great value. So that's how we need to be viewing what we have. I realize gas prices are nearly $5 a gallon now. I get it. I realize food is going up. I get it. Hey, we're paying the same prices you're paying, okay? And you say, well, maybe you're better off financially than we are. But let me tell you something. When we take something, and if you go back to the law of sowing and reaping, if we take a little and we release it into God's hands, and it gets multiplied by many times over, because he can do with it far more than we could ever even imagine to do with it. He can take it and use it to be a great thing. Because when I give a little, and you give a little, and somebody else gives a little, and 10,000 others give a little, when you all add it up, it comes up to be a great deal. Because, folks, it's costing these companies, these places, I hate to say companies, these charities, it's costing them a lot of money to get these items of, whether it's water, whether it's food, whether it's blanket, whatever it is, it costs them a lot to fly it overseas or to buy it overseas and then get it into the hands of people who need it and can use it. We have a responsibility. So, anyway, this is what 2 Corinthians 8:24 says. Let me get back to that, and I may have lost my place, so give me just a second. There we go. This is what it says, and I'm going to paraphrase it. You know, I think we talked about this a few services ago. Don't tell me you love me, show me. Well, that's basically what this verse says. It says, wherefore show ye to them and before the churches the proof of your love and of our boasting on your behalf. Now this is Paul. He's still talking about giving. Don't show me you love me, or don't tell me you love me. I'm sorry, I got that wrong. Don't tell me you love me. Show me you love me. That's what that's saying. All right, so how can you give? How can you help somebody that's in greater need than probably most people in America? I realize we have people here that are in great need, and we need to help them too if we have the ability to do so. But anyway, there's a lot of ways to help. Samaritan's Purse, if you're familiar with that, and most of you probably are, that's a great way to help. The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, that's another great organization that, of course, their main focus is helping Jews, but I think right now they're kind of all in, just like Samaritan's Purse, and they're helping. The American Red Cross is another great way to give, and you can go to any of these three that I mentioned, and I'm sure there's dozens of other organizations out there that are doing the same. But and we're not here to promote one over the other. Okay, you need to pray about it. You need to seek the Lord, let Him lead you and guide you, and you find whatever source you're content to give to or through, and just please give something. If it's not but $5, give something, because your gift combined with hundreds or thousands of others ends up being a lot. But anyway, my point is what I like about Samaritan's Purse. Now, let me say this disclaimer. This ministry here, we don't get paid for this, okay? Nobody gives us money to do this. We do this free because it's what God has laid on our hearts to do. So we don't benefit financially or in sponsorship or anything by this. I mean, Franklin Graham has no idea who Larry Perkins is, okay? So I'm just saying, so don't think I'm saying this because we're gaining from it, because we're not. The only thing we're doing here is sharing the gospel and the message. But Samaritan's Purse and other Christian organizations, whenever, it's kind of like Operation Christmas Child. When that box goes forth, the message, the gospel goes with it. Okay, and that's why I like Samaritan's Purse, because they don't just go and minister, they take the gospel with them. Because at the end of the day, giving them a bottle of water or some bread or some kind of one of those, what do you call them, ready-to-eat meals or whatever, those are great, and they need these things. But most importantly, these people don't have Jesus. They need Jesus more than they need substance for their bodies. Okay, they need Jesus. Because can I just say this, and I'm not trying to make anybody mad here, but we need to be praying for the Russian side of this as well, because those Russian soldiers that are dying for what they believe in, they too have souls. They too, if they don't have Jesus, they're going to hell just like anybody else that's on the Ukraine side of this that don't have Jesus. When you die in your sin without Him, there's only one place you can go, and that's hell. So we need to be praying for the relief of this on both sides, that this war would stop, this suffering would come to a quick end, and they can begin the process of rebuilding. But anyway, so I want to challenge you today to give something. To say, well, I don't know who to give it to. I don't want to be bothered with all that. Well, that's fine. So I'm just going to throw this offer out there to you. If you don't know what to do or how to do or want to do or whatever, if you just want to give something, because our church is taking up a missions offering. We do it every month. But it's going to Samaritan's Purse. It's going for the purpose of aid to Ukraine. If you don't, you can mail it to the church. If you know somebody in the church, you can give it to them. We'll pass it on to the pastor or you can get it to us or whatever, and we'll be glad to pass it on into the plate so that these people can go and they can be blessed, and you can have a small part, because I want you to think about the law of sowing and reaping. You know, if we hold on to our seed, okay, and we don't release it, God can't bless it. It's the law of release. And I know Jensen Franklin and I think Perry Stone, they've done some preaching on the law of release. You got to release it to receive the blessing from it. So I'm asking you today, consider missions, give to missions, because it's very important. And I can't remember exactly where it's at, but and it's talking again about giving, but it talks about missions, and it says that mission is a sweet odor in the nostrils of the Lord. Research it. Check it out for yourself. Don't take my word for it. But remember, too, Jesus said this. He said, if you just give a cup of cold water in my name, you shall in no wise lose your reward. He said, well, I've been praying for them, and I care about them. Hey, and that's great. But this is what the Lord spoke into my spirit this morning. He said, not only open our mouths to pray or open our hearts to care, we can open our wallets to show it. So again, don't tell me you love me. Don't tell me you care. Don't just tell me you're praying. And don't believe me, I think all of those things are appreciated. But we can show it more. We can prove it by giving a little. So I challenge you today. Give to this need. Give to these people. And let the Lord bless you. Just like the Bible don't say what happened to the little old woman that gave the 2 mites. But I can imagine that somehow, whether it was in that same day or in the days to come, somehow or another, somebody blessed that little old woman because she gave all she had. She had nothing left to give, and she gave it all. And we here in America are blessed more than anybody else in the world. So if it's not but $1, if it's not but $5 or $10 or $100 or $1,000, whatever it is the Lord leads you to give, please, I beg you, don't sit there and try to justify and rationalize and say, well, I could buy X number of gallons of gas with this money. Don't. You release it. Let God bless you, okay? All right. So that's all we have for you today. I hope this has ministered to you today. I hope it's inspired you not to just hold on to it, but to release it to the Lord. Give it to Him. Do the work in His kingdom that He has assigned you to do, and let Him bless you greatly. All right. Well, folks, that's all we have for you this week. We thank you. We love you. We care for you. We care for you, and we're praying. Pray for these people and bless them. Lord willing, we'll see you next week.